All right. So in this video, I'm going to run you through a typical playlist of our Sunday. So right now we are ending 2024. This is our last Sunday of 2024. But most of these rules will apply to how we run it on a typical weekend going forward. Now, at the start of every playlist on a Sunday, there'll be a pre-service loop. This pre-service loop will be displaying any important information for our congregation to have as like right before service is going. So we play this pre-service loop before pre-service. So before first service and before second service, while people are coming in, getting their seats, getting their hearts and minds ready for service, we play this pre-service loop. Now, this pre-service loop and some other slides within this playlist have what we call audience look, and these other icons are timer icons. Now, these currently timer icons aren't doing anything. They're stopping any timers that are going, but there are no timers proceeding right now. So that's good. So this pre-service loop is just going to loop through these 5, 6, 7, 8, how many slides we have that weekend, that could loop through. A thing to remember is if it's not already triggered when you sit down to run CG, there are macros down here. Now, some of these macros automatically fire at a certain time, and I'll run you through what those are as we go through our order of service. So this first macro says start service 8:30 a.m. The second macro says start service 11 a.m. These two macros you need to fire. They will not trigger themselves automatically because depending on what time we end another service going to another service, that's why we don't have them automatically trigger. But this start service 8:30 a.m., it is going to change what the confidence monitor is displaying and the timer that is going to the confidence monitor. So if I click start service for 8:30, it displays service starts in however many time it is till 8:30 in the morning. Yes, that's that. And same thing for the 11 a.m. It's just different service time. It counts down to that service time depending on what service you are serving at. So that's that. Now, automatically 10 minutes before a service, we have a pre-service prayer slide that goes up. That is an automatic trigger slide that you won't have to worry about, but make sure that you're not clearing the slide or anything like that. It's going to automatically display and automatically go off. So let's say, for instance, you are serving at our 8:30 or even at our 11 a.m. service. At 8:20 and 10:50, a pre-service prayer slide will go up that looks something similar to this. It's going to say pre-service prayer, service begins in 10 minutes. It's going to have a 10-minute countdown. So that is going to automatically display before each service. You won't have to trigger that. It'll automatically do it. And then after that 10 minutes is over with, there's going to be another macro that's going to automatically fire. So again, you won't have to trigger this. I'm just showing you where it all is. There's going to be a macro that automatically fires that's called PNW look and prop clear. That stands for praise and worship look, and it's going to clear the prop. A prop is what you're seeing right now. Pre-service prayer, this whole slide is what's called a prop. You can see that this icon is showing that is a prop layer. If I go over here right next to the macro, if I go right here next to this button right here, these are what's called prop. There are multiple things that live within a prop for us. Pre-service prayer slide lives in a prop. Our Monday night prayer slide lives in a prop. Our video announcements, and we'll get to that later, lives in a prop. And some other special stuff that we may have may live in a prop layer. Now, as this is playing, you could technically import more songs, do whatever you need to do, if it's not going to change the audience look. As you can see, the audience look is set to slides and media, 2 screens only. That was automatically applied via this macro because it's on the macro. So as I'm going through, the countdown begin. Let's pretend that the 10 minutes are up, and this macro is gonna automatically fire for you. You don't have to do anything, and now you are free to control ProPresenter as if you were running the service. So we're running the service, and we're going to the first worship song. As you are going to the first worship song, for every song majority of every song on our list, there is a audience look slide. That slide is there for a reason. It's to change the look. An audience look is changing what is going to the sanctuary screens, the live stream, and the confidence monitor. That's what an audience look does. For instance, this audience look is changing what's going to sanctuary, what's going to live stream, and what's going to confidence monitor. So if I click the first slide, it's going to display the lyrics on the sanctuary screens and any media or graphics you want to put behind the lyrics. It's going to display the lower thirds for the live stream, and it's going to display the current and next slide for the confidence monitor. As you can see, there are some timers going. These timers are for, these specific timers actually are for worship. There's a certain amount of time allotted for worship, certain amount of time allotted for just different stuff. It's not like we're rigid to these times, but it's loose to just give us awareness of how much time we may have in a given service. So that's what those timers are for. They automatically trigger at a certain point because they're on this macro. You don't have to worry about that. So again, I'm going through the song, going through a song, going through a song. So let's say, for instance, there is a song that you have either imported or there's a song that was sung on the fly that you just dragged in that doesn't necessarily look like some of the other songs within the playlist. Like, for instance, this song, Hold to His Hand. These slides do not look like any of these slides. And how you could tell that, number one, you can visibly see that there are more lyrics on this slide than there are on these slides. And you can look at your ProPresenter multi-view up here in the top right. You can see how many lyrics are going to the sanctuary and what's going to the live stream. You can see some of the lyrics are cut off. We do not want that. So how do I edit those in the fly if that happens? So what I just did was I came over here, I clicked this clear button, and that clears the slides. That doesn't clear media. This is the media button. It just cleared the slides, so it just cleared the lyrics. You don't want to click this because this clears everything. Unless you do want to clear everything. That X clears everything. But let's say in this case, I still want the media to go to the screens, but I need to edit this slide, so I just want to clear the lyrics. So I cleared the lyrics. The easiest way to edit lyric slides to fit our 2-line minimum. We want lyrics only on 2 lines per slide. 2 lines per slide. And we want the lyrics to match the way you would sing it. All right? So I am going to go up here to what we call reflow. Reflow is going to open up a window. All right? So let's go through and edit this song together. Hold to His hand, God's unchanging hand. That's how you would sing that first line. All right. So I am going to click right next to God because we are singing Hold to His hand. All right. And then God's unchanging hand. That's the syncopation of that. So I'm going to go right up here to God. I'm going to click enter. It is going to drop God's unchanging hand down to 1 line. Then I'm going to go to the next Hold to His hand. And I'm going to click right next to it right there. I'm going to click this button down here that says Insert Slide Break. What that does, it creates another slide. So now those words aren't attached to this slide. Now we're starting to look a little bit more like our 2-line lyric format. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Click God's unchanging hand. Click Enter. Come down here to Build. I'm going to insert a slide break. Build my hopes on things eternal. That's one lyric. It's not sung together, so I'm going to insert another slide break. I'm going to enter. I'm going to hold to God's unchanging hand. And then let's go down here to verse 2, and we're going to do the same thing. Hold to his word. Actually, nope, I made a mistake. I'm going to hit Command Z to go back. Click enter. Hold to his word, God's unchanging word. Insert a slide break. Hold to his word, God's unchanging word. Insert a slide break. Build my hopes on things eternal. Insert a slide break. Hold to God's unchanging word. All right. So now we have that song edited. I'm going to come back up here to show. You're going to take me back to the view that we're all normally looking at. And now, as we go through the song, hold to his hand, God's unchanging hand. Hold to his hand, God's unchanging hand. Build my hopes on things eternal. I'm going to hold to God's unchanging hand. Now, the song is looking like how we would normally see it on screens. Now, we're not going to just go through the song without any breaks or in the song and breaks within singing them. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come right up here, right after verse 1, right before verse 2. I'm going to come down here to the left. There's a little plus icon that says add slide. I'm going to click that. I'm going to click right here where it says either recent, so it's going to say blank, or it's going to live right here. Either one. It might not be in your recent sometimes depending on what we have programmed, but it'll always be right here in blank. I'm going to hit blank. I'm going to hit blank again. It's going to create a blank slide. Now I want to drag that blank slide right before verse 2, right after verse 1. All right? So no matter what, if we're in this and they call a musical break and they're not singing anything, I'm going to go to a clear slide. All right. So that's how you also program a song within ProPresenter. So I'm going down, going through. All right, so now worship is done. Let's move on to the middle. All right, now we're in the middle of the service, so where we have giving and video announcements. This first slide here has a audience look change, a stage change, and a stop timer change. So I'm going to hit that. It's actually going to, let's make sure. Yep. Hit that. It stopped all the timers. It changed the audience look. You can see right up here, if the word changed, that means the audience look changed. You can see what audience look is active. Right now, media and slides to screens are active. So that means only lyrics, any video, any media content will only go to sanctuary screens. Live stream will not see any of what we're doing. So let's say we're over here and I want to change. Depending on the lighting situation, I want to change what the media is looking like. Like, let's say the lighting looks a little bit to be more blue. I want to pick a background that's distracting, but you want someone with a little emotion in it. So I'm going to click this Color Wash 6 slide, and it's going to fade in. And so that will be displayed in the room. All right? So as that's going, we're going to go to the next slide that says video announcements. If I click video announcements, it's going to automatically play. Now, there are a few scenarios where we may run into where the video announcements won't fire or they won't trigger or we're not hearing audio and we panic and we don't know what to do. I'm going to show you some of the key things that you may want to check before you press the video announcements. So if I'm here and I'm waiting and they're just talking, I'm coming right up here to the top right where this headphone icon is. I want to make sure the sound is all the way up. Also on your keypad, there is a volume. There is volume on your keypad as well that you could click all the way up. that you can do it from there as well. But easier way to come up here and to make sure your volume's all the way up. And then you can click video announcements. So as you can see though, video announcements automatically fire. They fire great. Everything looks well. But you're looking at it and you're like, all right, well, what does this M do? This M is another macro. On this macro's down here. This macro has a host of things that is triggering. This macro is changing the audience look to video announcements. It's changing the stage, the confidence monitor to be the live slide so they see the video on the confidence monitor. It's clearing everything else and is firing a prop that's entitled video announcements. So if I come back down here to the bottom, I click, this is macro, I go to the left, this is prop. Right here is video announcements. This is where our videos live. And if I right click edit, it opens up. So this is how we import our video announcements every week. So let me show you. So if I just delete this and I click here, nothing's going to play because there's nothing in that prop. There's nothing down there in that prop layer, but I'm going to show you how we import. So if I come back here, click on props, right click, click on edit. All right, now the prop layer is up. So I'm going to come down here to our Finder window. It's going to open up. Our video announcements live in there's a favorites folder. At the top, it says to current weekend. I'm going to current weekend. I'm coming down here to weekend video. And our video announcement will live here. There'll be a video announcement. It would be that date of the Sunday or whatever that weekend is. And we'll load in the video announcement. For this purpose, I'm going to grab a random video from our archive folder, and I'm just going to drag it in. We're going to write over, and boom. So this video announcement loaded in, but it didn't fill the whole screen. I'm going to show you how to change that as well. So as you're dragging on the corners, these corners right here, I'm going to make sure that they snap. And you can tell that they snapped by a yellow marker indicating that they snapped to the size of the slide. So now that it's full screen, I'm coming over here to the right of the screen, click Inspector. Coming up to Inspector, I am going to the Properties tab of the Inspector window. I'm making sure playback is set to stop, and I'm making sure the end behavior is fade to clear. Fade to clear. So when the video is over, it won't display a black background, but it will just disappear and it'll go away and it'll just be clear. It'll fade to clear. So that's what we want. So now that that's done, I come back up here to show. It takes me back to what I'm normally used to, and I click video announcements, and it will trigger the video announcements. So that's how we import video announcements. All right, so next is the ways to give slide. Now this ways to give slide is triggering multiple things. This ways to give slide is not only displaying what you see right here, ways to give on the sanctuary screens, it is changing the audience look to offering. It's changing the live stream, what's going to the live stream, so it displays the lower third graphic or the side-by-side graphic of the ways to give. And it's starting a timer. So I click it again, it starts a 10-minute timer. That's notifying whoever is doing the offering how much time they may have, just depending on where they're at. So there's a 10-minute timer that starts for them, and this yellow timer is just in case they go over. Not anything big for you to worry about as a CG operator, but it's mostly for the person that's talking, that's looking at the confidence monitor. And it displays the 5 ways to give: text, online, in-person, kiosk, mail, and who to give the mic off to next. This weekend, Pastor Steve was preaching, so that's who they give the mic off to next. So when they are done with the giving moment, or they mention all the ways to give, and they're done with that portion, you go to the next slide. That is just a basic slide. Either it'll have our logo slide on it, or it will have another motion graphic or anything like that. Just be on the lookout and pay attention to what you're clicking to next. Okay, so now we're going on to the next thing in our playlist, and that is the sermon scriptures. This first slide will always be a title slide. This title slide will be, you guessed it, a title slide. It would say the name of the speaker for that weekend. That weekend it was Pastor Steve. Now, on this slide, it will have an audience look change, a confidence monitor look change, and it will start some timers. Okay? So that's key for you to always want to click this slide first. And right here, this 7.0 seconds, this is a go to next slide. So if I click it, it will auto advance to the next slide, and you won't have to click anything. So you see, my hands are up. I'm not clicking nothing, and it automatically went to the next slide. So that's a good thing to know, because you never know, oh, how long should I keep this up for and all that stuff, and when do I move off of it? It'll automatically do it for you if you click the slide first. It won't just randomly do it whenever. You have to click the slide first, and then, as you can see right here, it has an advance. It'll auto advance to the next slide. All right, so that's a 7-second advance slide. I usually, rule of thumb is I put that title slide up when you see that they're at the podium, centered. That's when you put the title slide up. When they're at the podium and they're centered and the camera 2-shot is on them and they're framed up good, that's when you put the title slide up. All right, so now this next slide is a audience look. I'm going to label that. And how I'm going to do that is I'm coming here, I'm right-clicking, I'm coming down to group, coming down to audience look, and I want to name it audience look. So that's audience look. So what that does is that notifies you it's an audience look slide. So it's changing the look of the audience. It's going to favorite church sermon scriptures. So now as you're going through and you're displaying the scriptures, you can see that the sanctuary screens are receiving scriptures correctly, live stream is receiving scriptures correctly, and the confidence monitor is receiving the scriptures correctly. So as I'm going through, now there is a reason why there are a few blank slides after some of these scriptures. These blank slides indicate that, all right, that is the end of that portion of scripture that the speaker is going to mention. I'm going to go to the blank slide to, one, give an indicator to the speaker that we have your next scripture prepared for you, and two, that the scripture is not displayed on any of our screens. So it's not displayed on the sanctuary or on the live stream. If I were to keep this slide up, you are always going to see that on the sanctuary screen and the live stream. The reason why we don't want that is because it can be a distraction for people that are either in the room or watching online when he's not mentioning the scripture or reading the scripture. We want to make sure we go to a clear blank slide. Now, you don't want to hit clear all, because now that gets rid of the background on the sanctuary screen. We don't want that. We want to just go to a blank slide that keeps the background up and it doesn't display scripture for the rest of the congregation. All right? So as we're going through. So, sermon is coming to an end. The band is up playing. This is a great transition point for our CG operators to be aware of. Pastor Steve is giving an altar call, or whoever is speaking is giving an altar call moment. What do I do now? I'm glad. Look out at the bottom of your screen. There's a sermon ends altar call moment slide. The header informs where you're at, and the slide informs where you're at. Sermon ends altar call moment slide. You click this stops whatever timers that we're going, and it displays whatever background is on that slide. This weekend we chose this background. Another weekend it'll be a different background. Don't get hung up on what background's on here. Just remember what this slide does. This slide stops timers. It changes the audience look. Key thing, it changes the audience look. Well, why would we want to change the audience look? Because many times at an altar call moment, we may go into a worship song. So let's say, for instance, we go into To Worship You I Live. That's a song that we may go into on an altar call moment. But we didn't do that in our worship set. How do I search for it? You come up here, you click search. This search window appears. Make sure it's clicked here and make sure this says library. And I'm going to type in To Worship, if I can spell, To Worship You I Live. There it is. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to click that. I'm going to drag it over. And as I drag it over, the song's there. So now I can freely click through the song. And now the sanctuary screens are displaying the lyrics correctly. The live stream is seeing the lyrics on the lower thirds. And the confidence monitor is receiving lyrics in the format that they need to for the people on stage. Now, let's just say, for instance, though, you didn't click this altar call moment slide and you still had the Faith Church sermon scriptures applied. So as you can see, it goes there. Let's just say we're coming out of worship, or we're coming out of the message, and he goes into the song, and you click the song. You can see that the sanctuary screens, although the lyrics are there, the look that needs to be applied for them to look correctly on the sanctuary screen, the live stream, and the confidence monitor is not applied. So you can look and see that the live stream are still receiving the lyrics, but it looks like the scripture lyrics, and that's not what we want. So that's why we put this sermon ends altar call slide here, so it automatically changes the look for you, and now you can freely click through the song, and now everything looks like it's supposed to look when it comes down to a praise and or worship song. So that is for changing the audience look, going into an altar call moment. Now let's say we're not singing that song anymore. We're done with that song. We're going to clear the slide. We're going to make sure we leave the motion graphic up, though, just for the to not disconnect the people from the room and not disconnect and have people like jump because the slide just went black or dark or whatever. Like, leave the motion graphic slide up for now. Now service is ending. He dismissed. We're coming down here to post-service loop. This post-service loop will change the audience look for us. It will display important announcements for our congregation to remember. And you're done. You have now been through a service as a CG operator. Thank you so much for watching this video. And let me know in the comments if you have any questions. We'll hope to answer them. Until next time.